and doing this thing, and now I've been asked by society to get out of the house. I don't like it. I won't stand for it. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's sort of an emblematic of our pussy generation, but I think this is kind of our World War II, like as in it was hard and it happened to all of us, and now we're all like, I don't know if I can be the person I was before. Oh, I'm a different person now. You're kind of like, wow, it's just 3 months. No, felt like a long time, and I'm not the same. So yeah, I think in probably a week we'll forget.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, we'll speed up again. I think it's just a case of getting your momentum going again.
But I don't want to. I don't want to, man. I'm kind of
Well,
against it. I'm against this
you
thing, man.
gotta. But
Why?
what's
Why
the
do I
second
have to?
option? You just
Why?
stay at home, isn't it?
Oh man,
You can't
I'm
stay at home
not.
forever, Ori.
Why not? I want to stay home forever. I want to stay
You
home.
probably don't, though. You probably want to stay home for another few months. That's what it is. You want to stay home for another couple of months. You want another couple of months off. And I'd say when it got to 5 months, you'd be like, fuck it. I need to go outside.
Here is Christina wrote us. Oh, so nice to have another session of these. I hope you're there for every crisis. When is your baby coming? Which baby? Ori, I missed you. I missed you too. Yeah. It is a crisis. Like it's a double crisis. It's like I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I mean, I understand I'm having growing pains because I've realized this about myself. I think it's right of everybody. I think it's correct to everybody that every time they ask us to do like a major change, it's always a problem, right? So before we were in it, we were doing comedy shows, we were working, we were doing all this stuff. And then the first 2 weeks, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna blah 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 blah. And then 2 weeks in, I got depressed. And then a week later, I got used to it. And then I was like, you know what? Life at home is bad. I'm enjoying being with my wife. I'm enjoying doing nothing. I'm enjoying there's no FOMO. I don't have to go out to parties or feel bad that other people are going out to parties. And I really got this deep sense of satisfaction from all this. And now, and now they're asking me to do the whole thing over, and I feel the same anxiety about it. But I also want to kind of implement all the stuff that I learned from about myself from this time in the world that's coming now. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the same asshole I was before.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good.
What, are you not
Because
feeling
we
that
don't
way?
want you to be the same, not the same asshole either anymore. No, I think yeah, I mean, it's that, I suppose. What was I going to say there? Yeah, you know what it is, I think, as well? It's particularly hard for us, our group, the comedians group, because here in Berlin, the weird thing is, we were kind of talking about before, is like we all run the shows, we all market the shows, we're all like one man businesses, one woman businesses, that's all. Hey, section, calm down. And basically like, but we weren't natural, none of us are naturally that. We all fucking hate that side of it, but it's a necessary, sort of a necessary evil. You got to learn the marketing and get into the sort of daily tasks of posting in groups and shit. And we kind of all, in fairness, pats on the back, we trained ourselves despite our nature to sort of cover it mostly. And we were kind of, you kind of had it down mostly. But then the thing came along, and when you stop anything you don't like, it's very hard to get started doing it again. If you just quit, you're on holiday from a job you hate for 2 months, it's a fucking nightmare to go back to it. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I'm low to like, oh man, I had myself trained to do this shit despite hating it, and then you let me stop and have a big long break, and now I gotta pretend like I give a fuck again. So if
That's
it was
that's
just,
true, but
hey, if someone was just calling me up and saying, hey, comedy started, get down to my show, here's a spot, do what you want, I'd be like, fucking brilliant. But it's the fact that it's like, hey, you remember all that extra shit that you don't want to do, but you have to do, or you don't get to do comedy? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, start again.
yeah. And that's exactly my point. It's like it's not only that, but it's about like this is what you just said. Like it's about going back to a job you hate. But comedy is not a job you hate. comedy is a job that you love, but the problem is that it's there's a lot of stuff around it that you don't like. And then the question comes into play. Sure, of course, like I've been spoiled. Maybe I'm a spoiled, blah 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 blah. But there's also a lot of things that you notice that you don't notice when the whole hectic shit is going on. It's uncomfortable for you that you don't like, and now I notice these things, and there's a part of me that's rebellious, part of me that goes like, I don't want to go back to the same shit. I want to change, because I want to have a good life. I don't want to waste my life. Like if there's no tomorrow, right? If we're supposed to live like there's no tomorrow, I want to focus on fun things, and I don't want to hang out with people that I don't like just because it's socially, except you have to do it, or go to certain like and hang out with people I don't like, or go to certain things I don't enjoy. Like just be more authentic, And the thing is, it's not that before we went on this break, I was like, I knew I was being not being authentic, and I was like, betraying myself. It's like what you said about the job. I didn't know I don't like 50% of the job. Now that I went on the break, I realized that 50% of that job I don't like. So what do you do? What do you do? How do you change? How do you change your behavior? And is it even possible, or are we just doomed to repeat the same behavior over and over?
Well, I mean, there's certain inescapable realities of it. Like you can't. What's a good analogy? I don't know. You can't find diamonds without shoveling a shit of coal. Like it's just not. That's where it is. Like you got to get through that stuff. Like So this, I guess, the best thing you can do, I think, is to divide it down into parts that are actually not necessary. They just sort of continue on because no one actually takes steps to remove them, and then it's like the sort of, I think that's what we were talking about. I think like as in you don't want to hang out with like people you don't want to hang out with, which is sort of, I think what this whole crisis did was like shrink us back into our base communities. Like it's sort of because nobody who you kind of knew was hanging out with you during Corona. They were like, "Fuck, you're not worth the risk." We all figured out who thought we were worth the risk, and we're probably all fairly disappointed with the number of people that aren't in that group.
It's
But
like the
now that
the
we know
Louis
that,
C.K. joke. The Louis C.K. joke. The one that you when you get in trouble, you find out who your real friends
yeah,
are.
that's the one. Yeah,
Fuck wants to
exactly.
know who his real friends are.
Yeah, that's what I just said there.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just quoting a Louis C.K. joke for no reason.
No,
Do
I
you
quoted the
mind,
Louis C.K.
Brendan?
No, I already quoted it. I said that joke after you asked me, but you're not
Really?
really listening to me.
Oh, maybe you were
I
cut
think you're
off.
still good
I didn't
tech.
hear it. I didn't hear it.
But yeah, like as in, I think now, but that's I guess that's an element I'd like to carry forward. Now that I kind of know, hey, these are my fucking friends, that like I can structure my work and comedy life so that it's more, within that framework, I suppose.
So
Because you
how would you
can't be.
do
That's the
it?
problem
How
with.
would you do it? Like what is the we were just talking about before the show, we were talking about like how do you create a show where you mostly have your friends and all that kind of stuff on, and you don't have to deal with comics that are, that you don't necessarily enjoy their presence, you know,
Mm.
stuff like
But I
that.
think it's the thing is it's sort of like it's that should be the natural state. It's like how do you hang out with the people you want to hang out with? Like it's like that used to just naturally happen. In fact, that was the problem. Like wasn't it? People were saying, "Oh well, upper echelons are of power are too clicky, so now you have to sort of." That was a weird thing about Berlin. It was sort of like let everybody in, just everybody you meet, just don't assume anything, and just everybody gets a chance. And you're like, "Ah, man, it's a nightmare." Like because you just half of everybody is like not your cup of tea, and then there's this other section that's just fucking psychotic, and there's another section that's just annoying. Like as in it used to be fairly natural for us to filter our groups into whoever suited us, and then so we were all just different bunches of assholes, I suppose.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's sort of there's a weird thing that I was in Berlin of like sort of well it's maybe the modern era. Don't judge anybody. I just don't think that's a very practical way to go around the world, and I don't know if anybody really does it. Like, it just ends up like this massive bloated group of people who really just talk over each other and don't really wait to hear anything because they're not really interested in what each other's saying because they're not really into each other, like, you know.
Yeah,
So
I
I think
think
it's
specific.
it's fairly natural to filter your own group. I think it's just we sort of become slave to a principle of actually not doing that.
Yeah, I think that that comes from like when I moved here. I think Berlin is a city of lonely people. You know what I mean? Like you don't move here unless you move here for some high tech job. You don't
Mm.
move here with your family or with your kids or most people just move here either by themselves or in a relationship. You can't just spend. Well, apparently you can. According to this quarantine, you can spend your whole time with your partner, and it's cool if you have a cool partner. But most people are lonely and they need other people around. So I guess like in high school, when you move to a new school, right? Then you hang out with everybody to kind of try and find out who are the people that you actually like and they like you and you kind of like to hang out together. And also kind of a feeling of being natural. So the first thing you kind of do is you kind of try to open up to everybody, but that's the huge amount of energy you're spending right there. And then slowly this kind of dwindles down to the main people. No, that
Or you're even capable or willing to get into those conversations. So that's what I found out. Was like I was just constantly having these banal, nothing conversations with this sort of mercurial, constantly shifting group of people that like half the time either they were just on some other buzz, and then when you just sort of maybe you get to know them a little bit, then they're off, and it's that kind of thing. So I
yeah, yeah.
think it's like it's not really functional the way that it seems to go on here. Like,
Christina's asking us if do we think it's good that people are going on the streets against racism? Well, that's another conversation, I guess.
I mean, yeah, that's another one. I don't know that it is. I think because it seems to be they're not. I mean, I don't know if that's what they're really out there for, or there's enough of them who don't really seem to be out there for that reason. I don't see how you steal a television from a business in order to stop racism. I don't see how that
How
functions.
do you
Like,
what?
so
How do you what? Steal a television? Oh,
how do
you're
you?
talking about you're
For sure,
talking
half of them are
Berlin, or are you
fucking
talking
looting.
about in the
Oh
U.S.?
well, here, yeah, in the U.S. I mean, I assume she's referring to that because that seems to be
No,
where they're
because in
most
Berlin
out
there's
for.
also demonstrations now. Like people are going out as an act of
Yeah.
solidarity, I guess, or something like that. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, I've never really seen any solid evidence that that impacts any kind of change, especially when it's sort of in Berlin, it's like a pastime. And I always felt like the point of protesting was to indicate how serious you are about a thing. If a protest was fun, how is it really a protest? Like, how are you telling the powers that be that, like, we fucking this shit because we are having drum circles and drinking sternies on the street? It's great. We're having a great time.
yeah, but
That's, I've never,
you're actually that's I mean, here's the thing. I'm for the looting and the and this and all the destruction of property. Not here, but in America, because first off, it's America. But the second thing, it's an interesting thing to see. But other than that, it's entertaining. It's also like I think it's the only way that you actually make any form of change. Nobody cares when people protest. You just the politicians just flip the channel. They don't give a shit. But the minute riot starts, it's like even if it does nothing but kind of get into people's psyches that if this thing happens again, people may be going out and rioting and doing some shit, then that will be enough. Even if it's just for the
mm,
next cop who's thinking to himself, oh shit, I'm doing this, like just to think, oh wait a minute, last time that happened, there were 3 weeks of riots. That may
yeah,
be
I mean, I don't know. I
just
think that
walking in
kind
the
of,
street.
I think it escalates things really. I think it's like, as in this, all these clips now of just randomers getting this shit kicked out of them by just a group of, I mean, usually it's not even of a particular race. It's like a mixed race, but like there'd be black people and white people, but it's horrible to see. Like you're just getting some randomer getting their head caved in. And I mean, that's, I don't know, I think it just makes everyone angrier, including police officers. And like they already got light trigger fingers by the sounds of it. So I don't know. It doesn't seem to be a anything. It just seems to be an escalation. Every time you look over at America, they seem to be ratcheting it up and up and up and up. I mean, people now making noises about civil war, and you're like, fucking, I don't know, man. You keep seeing every time I look across, you're not happy. Or like it's not like a come beyond moment. It's
You got
like,
all this freedom, and yet you're never happy. That's the way it
and if they
goes.
fucking did, like, I mean, you'd have to be looking over at Putin and going,
Hmm.
you clever little boy, you.
I think I think Berlin is a relatively happy place. Like when people are demonstrating here, I'm like, all right, that's nice. If it's a show of solidarity, it's like, hey, brothers, we're with you. That's cool. But the minute it kind of becomes Americans from America that feel that they have to do something, and then they go to Alexanderplatz or Neukölln, and they just, they want people to see them on their iPhones. I hate that fucking shit. That's
Yeah, I mean, I would have said primarily, I mean, or at least a significant portion of that, it's sort of an event. When people saw that and like the call for solidarity, they were like, yes, a new reason to get laid. Brilliant. Like, oh, honest, like, oh, I really, yeah, I so care about this one.
There
I,
probably
you know,
are. There probably are a few people like that. Oh, another black person got killed. I'm gonna get laid the next 3 weeks,
I
baby.
so fucking laid, man.
I don't even
Like,
have to smell good for it. Boom.
and that's not to before the comment section blows up. That's not to say people are not out there and they're really thinking those things. And obviously, there's shit going down. But I'm very suspicious of a lot of people who go onto those things, man.
Yeah.
They just don't. It does. I just don't think they're operating in good faith. They probably they might even some part of them tells themselves that they're there for the greater good. But I mean, when the rubber hits the road, I'm pretty sure they'd bolt.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't. You know what? I don't. I don't know what to think about these things. Coming from Israel, I know that any demonstration at the end of the day, the only thing that the politicians want is to end it. It's like they even look at the goal. They just go like there's civil unrest. It's a psychology thing, right? They're looking at it as civil unrest. Now there's a group acting a certain way because they feel a certain way, and then they do something that will affect the mob psychologically, and then the mob calms down. It's never affects real change, but it does affect real change through time. I mean, and actually, I think the riots do, not like not demonstration. Demonstration, you just turn off the TV. If you're a politician, you're sitting at home, you're fucking the maid with some Coke that you bought that the Secret Service gave you, in your McDonald's burger or whatever, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
the demonstration outside of the White House. You just turn the channel to Comedy Central and or you watch porn or something. And if it's
I don't know, man.
rioting, if it's rioting, the difference would be that someone would knock on your door. Someone would knock on your door and go, Mr. President, there is a problem. And then you have to stay up. You have to fix the problem. So it's annoying. It's annoying. So, all right, we're not going to give you, we're not going to cancel racism, but we are going to train the police better. So next time that I'm fucking, the maid and sticking a dildo up my own ass, I won't have to, answer the knock on the door. That's
Well, it's yeah, but that's the thing. Like, as in, it seems like well, according to the narrative that like sort of comes from that side, like the Black Lives Matter, is that like in America, I mean they just say white people and forget that there are other groups of white people, but in America, for American white people, they're the power group, and they are inherently and incredibly racist, and so they're not wait like when they get the knock on the door and say, "Hey, it's all kicked off because of this," you want to start the race war. Like as in according to that narrative, they want the war. They like because clearly they seem to have the upper hand,
the
and
whites.
like as in the next stage, yeah, according to that, like as in if you talk to any person, like the whole PC of color movement, like that's they're the superpowers. They have all the
Yeah, yeah.
the
You mean the
abilities to
patriarchy? Yeah.
the patriarchy essentially. So if like they're basically writing, you're giving him a reason to roll in with the tanks because that's it. It's almost at martial law stage, like isn't it? Didn't they declare it a martial law? And that
I don't
means
know.
that
I saw
the
this
next
video
stage is the army comes in.
of a tank. Yeah, coming. I don't think that's. I think that for the people rioting, I think the point of view is like a point of view of the prison, right? The prison is strong, like it is not the strong part. It is like the weaker side. So the people are being subdued by the prison guards, and they don't want to riot because then they have to bring in the National Guard. So that's I think that's it's an inconvenience for the system. I don't think that they think that the system really wants to eradicate them. The
I think
system
that's
wants
true.
to
Yeah,
use
I mean
them,
it's odd, but it's odd that like that's from the other side. Their idea of like, oh well, the white supremacists they want to subjugate the Batman, and this would be sort of an open invitation for him to do it. But I think in reality, no, I think it's more governments like, well, we just don't want to be bought, as in
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if
minimum
I
amount
was a
of fuss. Yeah.
politician, what do you really want? Like, if you're a politician, you go like, listen, like, look at the reality of America, at least, right? So nobody wants to be a cop, really, right? So the people, you got the
Mm.
people who wanted to be cops, and then you got the people who didn't want to be cops. So half of those people are fucking morons, and half of the morons, obviously, the extreme morons are the more racist ones, the more this. But you need cops. So you get those guys, you try to give them training, but you can't convince someone who grew up in Alabama in a trailer where his daddy told him all about the black people and the Jews and the gays. You can't, by giving them 3 months training about how to deal with minorities, make them realize that black people are equal to them. You know what I mean? So you're always going to
Mm.
have that problem because there are not enough police. And then what can the government really do? So what they can do is maybe fire some people. They can, they can take them to court. They can show other cops that don't. If you do that, it's going to come out badly for you. Which is, I think, what the people really want at the end of the day, because I think they know. I think they know. There's no police like, you know, the
Yeah, I
racist
mean
people.
the other side of it is it was like even all that like sort of the Alabama is like, well, are they? I've never been to Alabama. I've never talked to anybody from there. Like, is in a lot of it is as well like when people have come out with these Facebook and like they've got an extreme opinion on something and they want to have an extreme opinion and your tendency is to make some kind of comment based on everything you've seen. But the reality is I don't have a fucking clue what's going on in America. I never don't know any of the really the different sort of sectors. I don't know what it feels like. What's the vibe on the street? None of that. I just don't know. But we're constantly looking over and watching this show and all making our comments on it. Like, firstly, weird thing about that is oblivious to the things that are going on in our own area. Like, like as in, would make more sense to make the TV show about the politics in your area. But I guess America's just way more entertaining, or they just have better shows, whatever it is. But
Also, it's in
like
English.
you just can't even like when I was watching that I was like the kneeling on the knee thing I was like, oh, it's all going to kick off, but the reality is I just didn't see. I mean, it's just a very tiny clip and there it is, that's it. You know everything you need to know. He's like, but I don't know the background, I don't know the context, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, I don't know what he was doing before. It just seems like you're expected to go fucking ape shit over a very limited amount of information about a place that really the majority of the world doesn't know anything about because they're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
from
yeah,
there.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
No, that's
I mean,
that's true. That's true. I
and
think
I
that
get that's it. I get a bit
America.
tired out of asking to make fucking like sort of highly committed emotional outbursts about things that I know I couldn't possibly understand,
Yeah,
and I
me
know the
neither. I'm
person
not.
who's across from me doing it doesn't understand either.
I'm pretty sure that most of the things just stem from boredom and just natural human behavior. It's not even about, like, here's the thing. I've been reading this book about the Holocaust. Nobody's got an opinion. If you're hungry, you don't got to really, like, you're not, if you're hungry and starving, you're not thinking about who are the people ruining society. The minute you get too many Big Macs in you, then that's where these kind of things start from. You get a little comfortable, you get a little bored, so you start coming up with conspiracies, and you start coming up with with statuses and all this kind of jazz. Like, and exactly, that's, by the way, that connects exactly to what we were talking about before. Like, if you just notice the way society is acting when everything is normal, that's just not normal. It's just not normal from the very basis of it to the end of it. Like, even just sitting with a person you don't like just because they're there and you did a show, and here's a person I can't stand, and I'm sitting next to him and I'm sitting talking to this person I can't really relate to for no reason because it's conformity. It's a conformity to some sort of rules of society. I don't even know, man. I mean, it's true that at the end of the day, we don't really know anything except the things that we're actually doing on a daily basis. And even then, we don't know that much about that either. You know, we can talk about comedy till the cows come home. I don't even know where that sentence is from, right? So, and we get
Okay.
better at it, but we're not experts at it. And even now, we're just two assholes talking about, oh, this stuff in America or, society or whatever. What do we really know about anything?
Yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, there's degrees, there's layers of that. And I mean, it's top of that layer is what is the intricate nature of the anti racial tensions that exist in America? I don't know. I met some Americans. I mean, that's it. I met some, and YouTube. It's yeah, it's and as well these days. I mean, really, Corona educated us on just how fucked our sort of dissemination of information is in this current era. As in, like, it's just constant misinformation or incomplete information, and you just didn't know where to turn to get solid, concrete. What the fuck is going on? What's the nature of the disease? What is the correct way to behave? Like
Yeah,
it
nobody
took
knows.
so long.
Nobody knows. That's
Well, it's
insane.
like
Like,
well, it's
nobody
not that
even
nobody
knows.
knows, but the people who knew just weren't getting like you just didn't know who's got the best guess and where do I go to hear that guy or
Now
that
they're
girl.
saying, now they're saying maybe it's not even, you don't even get it from metal and shit. Like, you can't get it from platforms and shit.
I think that I heard that earlier, and see, this is it. Like, as in, but like that comes out from one area, and it's not like these. It's not that people took too long to figure that out. It just takes as long as it takes. It's a hard thing to figure out, but it's just like the problem is I didn't. We've just become so distributed in like where we get our news from and what we choose to believe that there's no sort of like, hey, it's the BBC and this is the you know and you're like, oh, the BBC, and they're probably mostly, they seem like a legitimate expert. Whereas now, you're fucking watching this guy, it's just like, oh, it's a bit of Joe Rogan there, or, I don't know, just all the little, what's Vice saying about something, it just seems like, and part of that seems to be the heightened like extremes that like things are pushing farther and farther left and right, which means that those groups are sort of coloring their narratives with more political tint than actual just keep to the facts and tell them
But
what we
that's, you
know.
know what
And
that makes me do? It makes me retract into my own world. And that's it. At the end of
yeah,
the day, I think that's what I have. That's the only tool that I have left is to kind of like go, you know what? I'm just going to trust my intuition and my senses, and I'm going to take the next possible step for me as a human being. Even when I look at like comedy or this video cast podcasty thing that I'm doing here, I don't know what it is.
it is.
You started with monitoring and then you were cut off the whole
Oh
rest of
yeah,
the time. Yeah.
that yeah. We kind of we. I've thought entered my head, but I think another thing from Corona was when you were sort of away for so long, you felt what it was like not to be to sort of act without worrying what people would think of it.
Mm.
That feeling now that sort of I don't know if it was always there that you're always being observed and you have to behave in a certain way. I think like the PC is sort of a sort of a surface veneer of that seems to be on the rise of like here's the code of behavior you have to stick to it and if you like oh yeah someone was I remember the last time we were on and someone accused us of me of saying something sexist because it was like a joke or throwaway line and I was thinking it's probably better these days to just accept and embrace the role of sexist. It's like the term sexist now to not be a sexist is such a sort of a weird. I have to, and I can just about fit into that hole. That like
The
you're always going to
lasers.
miss it.
You
You're
have to
always going to
skim
miss it.
between the
It's
lasers of sexism, is what you're saying.
exactly yeah, like it's
Yeah.
like it's a bad Sean Connery Captain Zeta Jones movie.
Yeah, but
Just I'll have to.
isn't that really the role of the comedian to kind of like I don't know if it's really, but one of the roles of the comedian is to kind of like reflect the personal experience that we have dealing with whatever it is that the world is putting in front of us, because I think that's not being done. Like, you don't really talk about it with
Mm.
your family or your friends anymore. I don't know if anybody ever talked about it, like, so we're, yeah.
Which now, yeah, but that's why I think it's bad. It's probably especially for comedians. I think in general, but yeah, especially for comedians, it's bad to be worried about not being called a sexist because yeah, we now know, like we kind of all experienced that term now has become so inflated that it's just thrown around, doesn't really mean what it used to mean. And if you're worried every time someone calls you a sexist, then you'll kind of shut down from the kind of critiques that you probably should be doing. I think as well, it's just you're probably going to have more fun in life for this next 20 years if you just go, fuck it, I'm a sexist, whatever, fuck it, yeah, you can shoot me if you want, and then just go on about your business, you know?
Yeah, but I think it's not only about
I mean, you
sexist
shouldn't hit
or
women. Just keep that one. Don't hit women.
I don't think it's about sexist or racist or any of these things. Those are like just extreme, extreme positions that feel like bad about yourself. But I think that that it starts with conformity to whatever area and group that you're in. You know what I mean? Like, it's we are in a
Well, you
group.
say it's extremes, but if no, but the last, if we go the
Wait, wait.
last day, for example, like that lady, she was just casually watching it and she just threw it out just to have that power, just to be able to shut up, you. Here's
Yeah,
the term I use
she
to get
used
you to
it as
shut
a
up.
social tool. We can discuss. So let's say somebody brings up a topic like that, right? So we can discuss it from the point of sexism, right? Is it sexist? Is it not? Are you getting some comments there?
Dane wants to come over. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, sure, he can pop
so
on. Why not?
so so people can say something like sexism.
My
So
surprise guest, people, strap yourself in.
what? He wants to be on the show, or he wants to come to your
No,
house?
well, he's coming to my house, so
Oh well, if he's there,
yeah,
we can
because
put
the
him on the
show's
show.
over.
Anyway, so let's say we're
Yeah.
having a conversation, right? And the conversation is somebody says that you're sexist, okay? So now, first off, you disagree because your definition of sexism is completely different from the other person's definition of sexism. So that's one thing. And then that could be a debate. We can
Mhm.
debate on the philosophy of sexism and what that means and blah, 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 blah. Or maybe that person right now is just you. I was a kid, I didn't know what it means. But basically, people just throwing words around. And now you're in a position where you have to defend your honor and you have to defend your mother and you have to say, my mother was never a whore. Or you can just realize that this person is trying to get to you. He's just trying to get to you in a way.
Difficult aspects. Being less attractive really is the only one, because everything else is way better. It's just not. It's just a hassle to have hair. Like, as in, it's like you gotta wash it. You gotta keep it big. It's sort of. I used to always get scalpy shit under it, but now I can get to my scalp, so it's not so bad.
Do you
And
feel
you don't.
less
There's
attractive?
no decision. Ah, yeah. I mean, you are. You're definitely down. You're definitely down a point. Like, as in, there's a few select group of individuals who managed to make it work for them. But the fact that there's so few indicates that it is clearly like how many bald people are there in Hollywood? Like, everybody knows the ones. You got Bruce
Bruce
Willis. You got Jason
Willis?
Statham.
So what you're
That's it.
saying is
Exactly.
what you're saying is bald people are considered less attractive than people with hair. Is that your?
Yes.
Hmm. I don't know,
I
man.
mean, not. I mean, unless you're a fucking ugly person with hair, and then well, you just have shit's creek, but you got your hair, I guess. But if you're lesser attractive to women generally, most women, some women obviously they don't have a big foot, and some women find it attractive. But I would say they're a minority, or they're certainly not the majority anyway. For most
Here's
women, you're a point down from what you would be if you had your hair.
here's the thing. I've never really had a problem with going bald or being bald. I've never really. The only difficult aspect to me is that I have to shave sometimes. I don't. Granted, I am married, but you know what? I all the girlfriends that I had, they were pretty. They were pretty. Just to be sexist, they were hot and they were nice, and I, well, one of them was a bit insane. I'm not gonna say which, but But generally, it never bothered me. It never. I've always had some, I don't know, some level of confidence, I guess, where these women were like, they saw beyond. Listen, there's worse attributes on me than having a bald head. I'm like really hairy. I'm
Hmm.
full of hair everywhere else in my body. And I guess some women like that because if not, I would not be married today, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world, but I mean, yeah, I think you're lying to yourself if you're not like aware that it's a mark off, like, I mean, a full and light of hair would be to your advantage. I mean, no one's like looking at the bald and then the hair version and going, that one is, I'd be, make him. No, I mean,
I
full
think, by
head
the
of
way, that
hair.
your bald look kind of complements you. Like there's like an Irishness that comes through. You have
I
this.
don't think so. I think I never got potato head as much when I had hair. I think that's a phenomenon that has arisen with the baldness. I used to, well, actually, I always had shitty hair as well. I had like very fine hair that I always wanted it to be up because that was like the '90s thing, and it just wouldn't. It would just whoop, like all Irish hair is kind of shit.
Hmm.
It's the leftover hair that didn't leave for America, essentially.
The incest hair.
While we stayed home and looked after the field hair, that
Uh,
type of thing.
Looked after the field with our cousin. No, is that the?
Yeah, we don't know. Incest now is not the Irish thing. That's
Oh no,
Alabama.
incest is not an Irish thing.
Not really, no. They've right like there's always like you just like there'll be interfamily. It's more like or the Fitzies. There's a lot of overlap between the Fitzies and the Kennedys, like, there's sort of
Hmm.
two families will pair up like.
Ah, I see. Well, all right, all right. So what are we gonna
But then
do,
again,
Brendan? What
like I
is
mean,
what are we gonna do? Are we gonna do shows? We're getting back to doing shows now. Obviously, we're gonna have a show that probably this Friday at Caracas Bar. If you guys
oh
want to
yeah, come
come
by.
by, there's gonna be an event on my page and Brendan's page.
Are we
What?
not doing Sunday at Fabian's, I suppose, are we? Are we?
Sunday is at Fabio Cafe number 10. We're probably gonna do a show there as
Second
well.
one.
What?
So keep a second one, yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, but what? How do you want to structure the show? So we're just gonna have our friends on,
Hmm.
and whoever signs up that we decide that we want to have on, we're ditching democracy basically is what we're saying.
Well, that's it. I think what it's not. Yeah, I think of our time running shows, we've slowly become into the realization that comedy should be a meritocracy first and foremost. It's not a democracy. It's not like everybody gets a turn. If you're good enough, if you're funny enough, because there's not that many jobs around, there's not meant that many gigs available. It's not the type of industry which should be bloated by everybody giving a go because there's barely enough work to sustain whatever people feel very committed to the thing. So I don't feel any sort of I don't see how I don't know why we got into this sort of vibe of like everybody gets a turn. I mean I would just put on people who are funny and are not a hassle to deal with basically.
Yeah, yeah, and just put up nights that we want to put up because we feel like those are the nights that we want to be a part of.
Jesus, fucking bats all over my fucking I don't know what's going on here.
Bats in your apartment?
Yeah, I think it's bats. No, just in the sort of there's like a sort of a indentation, like there's apartment there and there and there. They just keep falling. Yeah, they're fucking all over the place, man. Do you ever think you
That's
could be Batman and not know it?
maybe, or maybe
It's just like,
Corona. Maybe it's a sign that Corona is on the rise again.
ah, yes,
Uh,
exactly. That would be that, yeah, the harbinger of doom. But I'd be fine with that. That's a cool harbinger of doom. Oh, do you know what I
I'm
saw the other day, man? Fucking crows are so smart, man. It's freaky. I was watching on where was I? I think it was at night or during the morning, and these crows were out on the thing across the way, and they were freaking out. They were really screaming in a way I hadn't seen them before. And then I looked down and I saw there was a fox moving along the ground. I realized they're like signaling, they're doing an alarm call
oh yeah,
to everybody to just say, get off the ground, get off the ground, get off the ground. And the crow kept following him the whole way along until he was out of their territory. He was just
yeah.
the designated, everybody get off the ground guy. I was like, that's
Crows
fucking.
will, if you assault a crow, crows will remember your face for 3 months.
Mm. I'd heard that. And but they
Three
also have
months.
a thing where they pass on the information to the next generation. If the kids of those crows will know somehow that we don't fully understand, the same person is a danger.
It's
So that's
so there are a lot of
that's tricky,
racist
man.
crows walking around right now. It's just basically
But
that.
it's odd that like the animals that like are smart are the ones that kind of stick closest to us. Because rats are very smart as well. Foxes are pretty smart. They kind of like hover. They realize the best game in town is to sort of hover
Yeah,
around
not bother
things.
us.
And I think it's. I always think it's sort of. It's bad that dolphins never got to get in on that because they can't walk. You know,
Oh, the
it's just
dolphins
like
are.
dude,
The dolphins,
we
I
hang
think, are
out.
in on our fishing. I think that's part of what they're into. By the way, the albatross are into our fishing as well. Like it's actually it's very bad of them, but they hang around fisher boats and they steal fish, and also sometimes they get the fish thrown to them. But they go blind in a really like a prematurely blind, and that's how they die because every time they when they go into the water, like they go head first into the water, the salt affects their eyes, and then after a few years they're blind and they can't see anymore. It's horrible, actually.
But they do that all the time, isn't it? That's how they fish.
I think so, but I think that the fishing thing has kind of made it like too much or something like that. It changed the balance or something like that. Like anything else
Like
we
the
humans
research, the
do.
level of research you put into it.
No, I
That
heard
kind
something
something.
from some fishermen in Costa Rica.
That's somehow
How
their
much
fault.
research do you want me to put into albatross?
Just enough to know why the fuck is that not just the terrible design on the part of an albatross? Because I'm pretty
Maybe it
sure
is.
there
Maybe
are
it is.
definitely
But what?
birds that do dive in. That's their thing.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe
they.
they just like, well, it's a short term gig. We're sort of the Formula One race car drivers of the animal kingdom. You know,
All right,
we
listen.
live hard and fast.
Next time, you know what? I'm just gonna do it right now. I'm just gonna go on Wikipedia right now while we're talking, and I'm gonna check it out.
Uh,
Albatross going blind. All right, here we go. Uh, the albatross and the fish. All right, there's too many links, man. Here's what it says. The first result is, you're racist. The second result is join Scientology. And the third one is we all have cancer. Yeah, so I don't know how that connects to albatross,
yeah,
those are
that's definitely your fault.
all right, man. So
Hmm.
that's it, man. I don't know what to do. I'm going a bit crazy. Yeah. So I don't want to. I don't want to. I think I should. I'm going to start doing this show in the afternoon because shows are coming back at night, and I think people are just going to go out and be out, and maybe during the day now people will be like to more to listen to shit while they're. I don't know.
Maybe. Lunchtime, I guess.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
like 3 or 4 p.m. or something. When is lunchtime anyway?
before. Yeah. Fuck.
4.
I mean, if you're listening to this shit though during your lunchtime, I mean, I feel bad, but but hey, whatever floats your boat. Maybe I don't
Nobody,
know.
nobody knows. Christina
You
wrote,
work in a very specific.
crows are crazy intelligent and get like 70 years old, by the way. They have seen wars. Wow. I don't know. That's 70-year-old crows?
70? Is that what you said? 70.
Fuck a duck.
Jesus.
Or fuck a crow. Yeah. All the animals that eat everything are the most intelligent. Well, I guess that
That's the other
makes
thing I
sense.
was thinking. Yeah, like crows are. There's like dolphins. They're both that level of intelligent, except everybody like dolphins. You go, everybody knows the dolphins and let's interact with the dolphins. But the crows are like dolphins that are just like ninjas that are watching us. They're always there in the background. They know what we're up to. They've been fucking paying attention for about 70 years, like. And
Yeah.
we totally like everybody forgets the ravens there. Like everyone's like, "Oh, the dolphins here. Oh, look, let's have a smart interaction with the dolphin." The fucking
Also, it's
crows
an
are just like,
animal.
"That's fine. Leave him up there watching us."
It's the only animal other than insects, right? It's the only animal that can make us feel uncomfortable in our own habitat. Like there's no other animal that because we got rid of the really like bad animals. So if you see a fox, it's gonna run away from you. If you see a dog, it's probably someone. So the only other, even no one is gonna bother you, but a crow is like it's a bad omen. It could attack you. It's there. It's not going away. It's like it's the
I
only
think
thing
that's
that we
it.
allow in our habitat that we also. It's like the crazy neighbor that nobody bothers because he doesn't bother you most of the time.
Yeah, I think the humans they know that's Dane, but I think the humans know that the crow. They sort of subtly know the crow's up to something. That's why, like, it's called a murder of crows. That's what a collective
Hmm.
term for crows is. A murder of crows. Why'd you pick that name? No reason. Careful, they're fucking crazy. They're watching us all the time. They're so smart. All right, I'm gonna let Dane in. What are we doing? We're gonna keep going, or we're gonna.
Nah, I think we're gonna call it quits for today. I gotta go to
Do
your
you want to
house at
call it
some
quits?
point. Continue
All
this
right, then I
conversation.
will
All
let you
right, ladies
out,
and
and then we'll
gentlemen,
give
this
the
is
close.
Brendan Hickey over
Pleasure.
here. He has to open the door. You're gonna be stuck with me for a little bit. Yeah, that was the show. Still on. I'm still here. If you want to write me some comments, we'll go on for the next 7 minutes. I'll just share some stuff. I've been going through. I don't know. I guess I'm going through something psychologically. I'm happy. I am happy. I've been happy this like most of the last month, like quarantine and shit like that. I've been doing like things that I like, and I've been hanging out with my wife and watching shows that I want to be watching. And oh, okay, Brendan's back. Wait, hold on, Brendan, you want to be back?
I mean, I've opened the door now, so yeah.
You have to go open the door now.
No, I opened the door. He's on the way in. You already wrapped up, did you?
No, I was just saying that I've been having a lot of fun in the quarantine, and that I feel
All
now
right,
that
Dane.
you know what, I'm just gonna finish without
I'm
you.
just
You
gonna.
guys you guys do what you do. Yeah,
We're
so
just
I've
hopping.
been I've been just I'm kind of dreading going to normal, loyal to myself and where I'm not being loyal to myself, and the kind of equilibrium of when is it more bothersome than good, and when is it good and not bothersome, and I'm kind of, I don't know, fearful going back the way it was. I hope that I can learn the lessons of this thing and implement them, because if I can't, then what the fuck was all this about? Not killing old people and that's it. I don't know, guys. I'm happy for everybody who's having a good time out there, going back in the streets. I'm happy for myself doing it. I just hope that we'll take something out of this whole thing and not just mark it as another thing that came and went. And I don't know if anybody's watching this. I don't know. Like, I've decided just to do what I do, and hopefully it'll reach some people that like it, and some people will follow it. I'm not always funny. This is not always funny. Sometimes it's just talk. I don't know if anybody's interested in what we're talking about. Um, I know that part of me wants you to be interested, and the other part of me just wants to focus on the things that I'm interested in. So if those